This is a good conversation that we're just stumbled upon. The accent debate. Like we've talked about it before in private conversations, our thoughts now, and when we even had it like 5 years ago. And I'm pretty sure our thoughts now are completely different 5 years ago. Like when I did rap before, I used an American accent and stuff.
But you were the first to start switching it up, though.
Yeah, I was trying to switch it up as much as possible because I felt more comfortable just want to being myself. Because like as a hip hop artist, you always want to try and be as authentic as possible. And but that obstacle, like that thing of using an accent is like it's confusing for us because as a Filipino, you do dwell into that realm in the accent because like even when I speak normally, like people just think that I come across as an American because of the way that I talk. But then now it's going to be more confusing when I rap. And it's like, is this guy really American or not? You know, like you've experienced too, because like people would like mistaken your accent for.
Well, I started off with an American accent. I'm not going to lie. Like that's how I was introduced to hip hop. And I think that's just what I knew, you know, how like that was just the way that I was painting my pictures. Like, with the American sort of accent. And then like when I got into the duo stuff with Lee, when it came to like our third project, I like, you know, as you grow older, you start sort of asking yourself like, what is this shit? Like, you know, like when, you know, besides all the flexing and the bars and all that, you know, just making music, like real cool music, like, are you going to put yourself into your music 100%, or are you just gonna sort of hide behind this sort of paintbrush? Because everyone expresses themselves in different ways. Like in this debate, I don't stand on any side. Like if a dude chooses to use American accents,
I respect
what I really appreciate always is the content, like what they're talking about, what they're representing, and what are they trying to, like the message in their music. And I feel like if a dude needs to do that in his own accent, I mean, if the music's good, it's good, right? Like, so I started sort of asking myself that, and then I was like, you know what, like, yeah, you know, I'm a Filipino dude from New Zealand that grew up in West Sydney. There's a certain way that I talk. Like, there's ways where like I would sound like American because of the Filipino background. Because, you know, for Filipinos, it's kind of always going to link to like an American sort of. Yeah. I don't know, what do they call it, like Taglish, where it's like half Tagalog and half English. Tagalog is
the spoken language.
The spoken language of the Filipinos.
It's a dialect in the Philippines.
Represent. So like, yeah, and then there's certain like sort of there's certain terms that I use because I grew up in New Zealand. You know what I mean? And then there's certain sort of words that I use like because I grew up in West Sydney. So I just decided, you know what, why don't I just do it how I do it, and like not try and do something that, like what Nat said, like not try and do something that's just part of this like big wave that everyone's riding. And I mean, not many people are gonna get it, but the people that do relate to it will, you know what I mean? It's yourself. It's who you are.
Yeah. In terms of like reasons for people saying, oh, I use American accent because like if you're a singer, what type of accent do they use? They use
that's
an American.
The question.
They always say that. Always point to that. But for some reason, hip hop is it's an authentic genre in itself that this without if it was a perfect world and we're going to compare if the two things are like singing and rapping are the same thing, this debate wouldn't happen in the first place. So I think authenticity is so important in hip hop that it goes down to the nitty gritty, even onto your accent, which is crazy. But like for me, I don't care if what accent you use. If the content is great, the content is great. But I can understand on a listener's point of view or other artists in the area saying like you should use the accent because hip hop has always been raised on authenticity and being real, like consistently. But you know, I do get that, and like I'm not gonna be mad if someone changes their accent out of nowhere because like I've seen a couple of videos where they're like, oh, this is not the accent you used in the last song. And they're just, you know, it's like what happened and stuff. But like they make jokes about it. But to me, it's like if the content is great. The content's great. Content will always rule everything. But it like if I get it when a listener is like have that E and they be like they're picking out everything that they want because that, you know, at the end of the day you can't change what a listener listens to.
They like what they like.
They like what they like.
What do you reckon, CJ? Like I've had brief conversations with you about this.
No, yeah, it was a bit weird because you know I used to do a lot of singing before and like you said, like there was no debate in the singing style. But I don't know, man. Like you said, if it sounds good, it sounds good. It doesn't matter what accent you use, but it's good to be authentic. You know, what what type of music you want to bring out. Yeah.
What about with rap, bro? Like, do you
yeah, as a
like,
listener, do you like, if you see, are you more so a person that listens to the content, but if the content is good but the accent is kind of, that it's fake, do you just count out the content that's been said?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. I reckon. No, I don't count it out, man. Like, it could be like you said. Philos grew up on the American culture, American type of accent, and I don't know. Like, if you just depends. You don't. Me as a listener, yeah. If it sounds good, it sounds good, man. Doesn't matter what accent. To be honest, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's more so like, I think all of us will consider that content will take over, but if you're like, maybe the accent could be a bonus type of thing. Maybe it might.
I feel like the accent's what's pushing it now. Like what Kev said, like it's given us global perspective. Like, it's given us like a global audience now. People are like, oh, these guys are from Sydney, Australia. Yeah, that helps out a lot. Like. But
then again, I don't think like, to be honest, like I'm listening to thoughts and people who don't listen to hip hop religiously,
right?
And their thoughts on the accent is completely different to us. Like, we accept it.
What was that?
But then you hear someone who's like more so into the mainstream stuff, and they're done into music per se. They just listen to it in the car, and they hear an accent. They just think that it doesn't sound good.
Nah,
so
you know what it is.
It's funny that way.
No, it's funny as well, because I've talked to my girlfriend about this. She doesn't like the Aussie music, the Aussie accent. Like, she actually hates it.
Yeah,
but she's Australian. Like, it's funny, Like,
yeah, like, that's what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say, I think it depends on the style as well. So with real hip hop, like maybe per se, like the boom bap type stuff, that would be a bit more judged, because anything with like really intricate lyricism, if you're like saying a bunch of shit and you're saying it with conviction, you got to be on point with who you are as well. So I think the accent would matter a lot more in that sense. But when it comes to like, just music, making something that sonically sounds good, this can go both ways for rappers doing mainstream stuff, for singers and all other subgenres of the culture. I think that it doesn't really matter as much. Like, you can, it's for the sound. You're trying to capture an audience, a market, to please them, for the vibe altogether. That's what I think anyway. But yeah,
I'm interested to hear, like, if there's anyone out there who has listened to a song with the Australian accent that isn't, and you are not Australian, like if you're from the UK or from the US, I want to hear your thoughts in terms of like, how do you perceive and how do you if you like sonically the Australian accent? Because I just think like people in Australia are just biased on like the accent. They just hear it constantly, and then, or they hear the American sound constantly, and they hear something that just pops and it's the Australian accent, and it's like, what is this? What's going on? I just want to hear someone else's perspective that's pretty much that's used to the American accent as a whole, and they just hear a song and it has an Australian accent. I think that'll be interesting too.
Like a react. Well, you can watch the reaction videos of like when the Americans sort of react to like 1-4 videos or Hef's videos. Like there's certain words that they don't understand, so they like people comment them on what they really mean.
Yeah,
kind of thing, and that's like the disconnect. But then they learn so much from it because it's like that's what's going on over here. You know what I mean?
I think there's so much to touch on in terms of like the undiscovered stuff in terms of hip hop on a global scale.
Yeah, 100. Like
because like just hearing the accent like from I think we can only hear the British accent and the Australian accent per se. Like if we have hip hop as a whole and then embracing their accents, we might just get this whole undiscovered like culture.
Well, that's what's going to push it forward, I guess. Like just individuality and people standing out from the way they sound. I mean, that's how we progress, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also paying homage of like what's come by and what's began the whole hip hop thing in the first place, which is back in New York in America, and then that's how it started. We respect that, and and then 100%. Of course, and we just it's hip hop has just turned into a global genre.
Hip hop is one of those genres that have so many subgenres, and that's what people don't understand though. Like a lot of purists would get mad at me and say like hip hop is supposed to be this and that, or you're supposed to have bars, or you know what I mean? Or I only listen to hip hop for the vibes, you know what I mean? Like, no one is ever wrong in these conversations. I feel like there's just so many such subgenres that if you like something, that's just the type of hip hop that you like, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be sections now. Like, you have stuff that's like sort of more modern age, and then you got the classical stuff, and then you got the alternative stuff, and you got some experimental stuff,
And
like,
everything in between. Like,
you know what I mean? Yeah, and that's what pushes fucking music forward, bro. Like, and I really don't like it in discussions where like people always rant about how like hip hop is not like how it used to be and blah blah blah. When I'm like, well, they fucking said that about us when we were young, like the older generation. Like, what the fuck is this hip hop shit? And now it's like the biggest genre in the fucking universe. You know what I mean? Like,